get upset when they don't make a team, or they make a team and they're like the 14th player on that team, on that roster. They're not getting any playing time because deep down they know they didn't do everything they could to be a starter or to make that team. I wanted to be on the ECNL regional team. I want to be on the national team. Well, what are you doing to get there?
Dave, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me back, Eric. I appreciate it.
So it is tryout season as we are recording this. Some teams are about to have their tryouts, some are right in the middle of them, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of stress in the air and a lot of chaos. So maybe we can just chat a little bit and help put parents at ease, give some tools on how to navigate this crazy season, what to do when deciding who to try out for, or
Mhm.
maybe your kid doesn't make the team they wanted. We're literally going to cover every topic around tryout season. So, where do you want to start, Dave?
I think we start at the beginning, which is the preparation for tryouts. I think I don't think a big mistake I see a lot of kids, whether it's driven by the parents, just the kids' own willingness to, I want to be in the best shape as I possibly can for tryouts. As you all too well know, there really is no off season anymore for these kids. Um, that being said, it's a mistake to try to go into tryouts in the best shape of your life. The way that the human body works, as you all too well know, Erica, is there's peaks and valleys, and we want those peaks and valleys to end up here. We might start down here, but those valleys are simply periods of recovery and regeneration. And without those, there can't be a higher peak. So that being said, if you peak for tryouts, there's only one other place to go from there, and that's back down into a regeneration phase or a recovery phase for a little bit. So if you're in a situation, especially where your season begins right after tryouts, with here where I live, high school soccer is in the fall. So they'll start like early to mid August with structured tryouts and practices and stuff like that. And the season's long. We don't want to have to be recovering during the competitive season. So I tell my athletes, if you're worried about like what place you come in and running drills and that kind of thing, um, make sure that just be in the top 10. You're fine. And the other thing that I want, because we talked about stress, Erica, to take the stress off of what kind of shape am I going to be in? Are they going to test me in a 2 mile timed run or a mile timed run, which still know happens from time to time, or even a beep test or something that's more applicable to soccer? Stressing, it can cause stress. I have yet to hear of a really good player not making a team because their 2 mile time wasn't great, or they came in dead last in their that was me. I had a great college career. I also had asthma, so long distance was not my jam. And unfortunately, back when I played, there was still a lot of long distance, steady state running for soccer, instead of the sprint work we should be doing. And so I was that kid that was dead last, but I was also the leading scorer on the team. Like, so control what you can control. Don't stress out over the physical part of, we're going to be timed in the 2 mile or the beep test. I just had a 14-year-old client who was really stressing out over the beep test because the coach said, oh, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Then they didn't even do it. So like that mind game as well, like her central nervous system and her stress levels were through the roof because of one physical test. And she's the starter. She's one of the better players on the team. So um so a couple things. I think I kind of went off on a tangent there. Um, don't stress over what tryouts are going to be in terms of physical testing and all that stuff. Make sure you're recovered and you're moving well, and you just feel really good physically and mentally going into the tryouts. And that being said, don't feel like you need to go into tryouts in your best shape because you have to go down before you can come back up again, especially if your season is on the other side of those tryouts.
I like that you started with the importance of recovery and all this because I think players tend to really freak out that they need to pass a certain test or, like you said, be in top shape for tryouts when right now a lot of them are in the middle of season when they're doing either club tryouts or school tryouts. There's so much overlap now between those seasons. So when players freak out, they need to be in better shape than they already are, which is crazy because they're already doing a ton of running anyway.
Right.
So if they add more fuel to that fire, that can increase that overuse injury risk or just that fatigue. And maybe there's an even more catastrophic breakdown like an ACL tear. So we
Mhm.
really have to go in fresh to tryouts. I think the readiness is the most critical. But for
Mhm.
players who maybe want to do a few things to sharpen up on, would you recommend just ball work and just getting really sharp with their touches since it is kind of low cost, low impact type stuff and anything
Mhm.
else you recommend?
100%. I was actually thinking that when you said it. Yeah, just sharpen yourself up and work on your confidence, right? So spend, and I'm not talking about an hour and a half, super intense skill session, right? Spend 20 minutes with you, a soccer ball, and a wall, and work on your first touch. Bang that ball off the wall, work on your first touch. Nice and light, no one's around, there's no pressure. Take time to breathe in through your nose and out your mouth. Imagine yourself making great plays on the field. That's another thing I would have them do outside is just some skill sessions, like you said, just over the ball, working on their first touch, juggle, have fun. It's just you and your best friend, the soccer ball, but also spend some time breathing in through your nose and out your mouth. Take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and literally go through scenarios in your brain, run little movies of yourself making plays. And you know the game, but let's just give you some examples. I do this with my athletes all the time in my sessions. Close your eyes, and I want you to think about jumping a pass and then beating that last player, taking a shot and scoring. I want you to think about, like, run through a scenario of a 50-50 ball that you win. Go through a scenario of whatever, you dangle a kid 25 yards out and then you strike it and you go bins, right? And you guys win the game. You swat a perfect pass to your overlapping midfielder and give them a breakaway, and then they finish. And it's a beautiful goal. A couple 1-2 touch combinations with some of your teammates on the field. Positive plays. Don't go through plays where you mess up. What if I mess up? Here's the thing that you guys should know, especially going into tryouts. And we talked about like mental preparation and being confident. If you're thinking about making positive plays, those conscious thoughts, if you think them enough times, right? If you do that enough, it becomes your subconscious. And your subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and non-reality. So your subconscious thinks all that stuff's real. So then what happens is if you do this enough, you start making plays on the field where either your coaches, parents, or teammates say to you, "Oh my God, that was so awesome. How did you do that?" And you're like, I kind of don't know. I just did it. Right, and so that's what happens. You'll manifest those plays on the field. I know it can sound like hocus pocus, but it is so real. You want your brain to have been there before. So whether it's during tryouts, at training soccer practices, training sessions, what have you, in matches, if your brain's been there before, think about how quickly you react and how good if it the plays you make will just feel good. You'll have a great first touch. Imagine yourself having a great first touch in different ways. It's a great pass to the inside of your right foot, or it's a weird bounce and you take it off your thigh, you settle it right away, move it into space, take it out of pressure, and then you find your teammate who's open. Like make these specific little movies, I call them, in your head, and it can be endless. It can absolutely be endless. So work on that, a little bit of skill work, eating well, hydrating, and taking care of yourself, and you will go into tryouts really feeling great.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the eating too. It's like I'd rather have players spend more time figuring out their tryout day meals and hydration strategy rather than overtraining and overrunning. Like, if you want to really
Yeah,
spend time on something, it's planning your nutrition and being really diligent with it because that's where your energy comes from, your endurance, your ability to recover and repair quickly. Because oftentimes, these tryouts are 2, 3 days, maybe 4 days in a row. So you have to be on and recover quickly all those days.
yeah. I'll say this too, maybe this kind of wraps up this part of it. That should be a constant anyway. If you really want to be a good player, Erica knows this. We both talk about it all the time. The grind is doing all those little things. What is my strategy to eat the best I can so that it helps me? It doesn't hinder me on the soccer field. What is my strategy for making sure I'm hydrated? What is my strategy for making sure I get enough sleep? And does that include, like, what is my strategy for taking a nap right after school for 10 minutes or meditating or lowering your stress levels or getting your mind in a good spot? All those things are part of the grind. And I'll say this, when you do those things consistently, you're all set. When you try to do those things one day before tryouts, it'll have an impact, right? Eating better is always better for you than not. Getting sleep is always better for you than not. But the consistency will get you there, and your confidence will be through the roof. You know why? Because the first day of tryouts, or you're in the car on the way, you're like, I've put in all the work. I've put in months, if not years, of eating well, sleeping, making good decisions that are good for myself and my body. I train hard, I rest hard. You're doing all the things. You can have that confidence of saying, I'm doing things, quite honestly, that 95% of players don't do. So you can walk on that field the first day knowing that. That gives you such an advantage over any other player you're trying out against, regardless of how good they are.
I love that is the true grind. And I think a lot of people get the definition of grind wrong and they think it's no days off, working super hard, running themselves into the ground to the point of exhaustion and soreness. But in reality, the grind is those small habits, that discipline that actually build you up and make
Hmm.
you more prepared. And I'm glad you mentioned confidence, Dave, because the more prepared you are, the more confident you'll be. And
Yep.
confidence is not just from affirmations, you guys. You have to
Hmm.
have the preparation behind it, the muscle memory behind your skills. You have to train your skills in a challenging setting. I mean, confidence is so much more than just affirmations. Yes, you want positive self talk. You do not want to talk bad about yourself. You want to believe in yourself, but that belief comes from that preparation and that knowing that you're ready.
Right. Right. And it comes over time. And we can't expect success if we're not in practice or not playing in a game. Nothing we do has anything at all to do with the game of soccer or getting better at it. You can't expect to have success or improve if you don't put the time in. And as Erica just said, it's a big pet peeve of mine that the grind it's perpetuated. It's out there that it's every practice has to be like running you into the ground. You have to leave exhausted. Every training session in the gym has to be a conditioning session that you can barely stand after. Uh, you know, the grind is the day that you take a foam roller and you roll out for a half an hour. That's still making you better, but you can't expect to not do all the little things and have ultimate success. So this is going to be sound negative, but if you don't make the team, don't blame the coach if you didn't put in the time. Don't blame the club and their system if you didn't put in the time. Control everything you can control, and then we can deal with what happens at tryouts after that. But you can hold your head up high and know you did everything you could. I think that's where deep down people really get upset when they don't make a team, or they make a team and they're like the 14th player on that team, on that roster. They're not getting any playing time because deep down they know they didn't do everything they could to be a starter or to make that team or get moved up from the B team to the A team if it's in a club scenario. I wanted to be on the ECNL regional team. I want to be on the national team. Well, what are you doing to get there every day, not including being on the soccer field or in the gym?
I think that's a good question for everyone to ask. And also, if they're not making that top team, they should also ask, well, am I really someone who can get out there with the current starting 11 and be up to speed with these girls? And sometimes the answer is
Yeah.
no to that. And if the answer is no, then there you go. I think when we're looking at these top teams like the ECNL, it's like these coaches want you to come in and be an impact player.
Hmm.
And then sometimes they'll keep you on the ECNLR team and you become a leader or a captain on that team, which is totally okay too. And I've had conversations with some parents where their girl got dropped down to the lower level team, but it was devastating at first, but then after a while, they got into that leadership role. They played every minute of every game. They built that confidence and they felt like they were contributing to the team. So it ended up being
Hmm.
a blessing in disguise. So if you don't make the team you want, keep that in mind and really look at the bigger picture and what you're going to learn from this. Are you going to become a better player overall?
100%. A lot of times what we do in our society, especially, is we'll use like one or two examples of household name athletes, right? To say, well, they did it. They specialize in their sport early, or every video I see of that athlete is them grinding in the gym or whatever, and maybe they had that work ethic and that was kind of their system for getting to where they were at the pro level. But those are like one example, and I want to use that same argument on the other side of it. When we talk about not making a team, Michael Jordan did not make his high school basketball team as a sophomore. Like, that's the most famous story ever, right? The most important part of that story is, and it's been told this way every single time, so we know it's accurate. He sat with his mom after that tryout, and there were no excuses.
Mm.
What are you going to do to make yourself good enough to make the team next year? You need to practice more. You need to work harder. You need to take care of your body. You need to get sleep. You need to get the good grades. Like all those things. That's the example that I love to show kids. Another one is Kobe Bryant. when he was, I think it was in sixth or seventh grade. He was in like a rec league or like a church league for basketball, and his story is he literally did not score one basket. And in the interview that I saw with him, he said, "No, not even like by accident throw the ball up off the backboard and in, like one of those ugly, like that shouldn't have gone in, but hey, good for you, kid." Like not one point. And his story speaks for itself. And again, with Kobe, his Mamba mentality, he put in more hours than anybody, was early to practice, stayed late, but he also rested more than anyone else. He also ate more nutritious food than anyone else. He worked on his mindset more than anyone else. He was constantly learning and reading. How do I become confident? How do I do it better than anyone else? It was all the things. So, Erica, I want, and audience, I want to use those examples going into your tryouts, because if you don't make it, it's okay. It's going to be okay. And I know like there'll be people watching this that, maybe they're going into their junior year. And we know that's a huge recruiting year for soccer, if college soccer is the ultimate goal, right? If you're really pushing toward that. I will say this: your attitude, no matter what team you're on, is what will also help you play college soccer. So if you're just going to be bummed out and have a bad attitude on that team, when you do get a look because you're at a showcase tournament and a coach you've been speaking with comes to see you, and you've got a bad attitude because in your mind I'm better than all these girls and I should be on the national team, not the regional team, all this stuff, you're going to be taken off their list. And it's not because of your playing ability. It's because of your attitude and your behavior, what kind of teammate you are. So if you don't make the team, be the best player on whatever team that you make. Be your best on whatever team that you are on.
I love that, Dave, and I think oftentimes when girls don't make that team, they tend to blame and complain about others, and look,
Mhm,
it's human nature to be like, like, "Why didn't I get that? I do this, this, and this better than those girls who made the team." I understand that, we've all been there as players, but
mhm,
eventually there does come a point where you have to take charge. There's that
mhm,
little mourning phase where you can be upset, but then there's that phase where you have to take action, either become a leader on your new team, work on your nutrition, work on your strength, work on your skills or your speed or whatever the other coach told you needed to improve. Start working towards that and becoming better, because the longer you linger in that where you're complaining and wondering, well, why didn't I get it? Then it's just gonna make you even more sad and pissed off.
yeah,
So,
y-
yeah, eventually you
yeah.
do have to take action.
You, we have to. I think, Erica, we have to let people or remind people the reality of club soccer and what it is. And so here's a very real scenario. I'll use my oldest son. We went through this. And so he was invited to try out for their national team, right? And so we had to drive. It was like a 5-hour drive to just for this one day tryout, right? So I stayed and I watched from like as far away as I could because that's what I like to do. I don't want to be there because I feel like that adds pressure to the kids. Like parents don't need to be watching tryouts. So from what I could see, Trev fit in. Like he wasn't any worse than anyone else. Like he fit in. He made mistakes. They made mistakes. He was fast. That kid's fast. But here's the reality, and I talked about this with Trev going into it. This team is already established. This is last year's team that's holding a tryout. It's very You have to be able to go in there, and a coach that's watching, evaluating you has to be like, "Wow, I I have to make a decision here. I have to choose who I'm bumping down to the regional team or who's losing their starting spot for this kid that no one knows because they're with another club right now, or they're on our regional team, and move them up. There's a lot going on there. But also, again, remember it's an established team already. They've already had a fall season. They probably, trained over the winter and had a spring season. Now they're having an open tryout to see what's going on. Um, so just know the reality of that. If you're trying that, it's tough. You have to go in there and be one of the top 10 on the field. And even then, the coach is going to have to make a very difficult decision because someone's being bumped in some way. And there is favoritism in politics in certain situations. That's why I want to go back to what we originally talked about. Control what you can control. Be the best that you can be in whatever situation you're in and go. And guess what? It didn't detract from Trev playing college soccer at all. And I'll say this, we didn't have one recruiter or college coach ask us what level team he played on or in what league. Not one. Didn't care. And the school he went to, they never saw him live. They only saw him on film. So just guys, don't freak out so much about tryouts. You're just going to play soccer again. Play the game the way you know how, and to the best of your ability, and still have fun. It's just another opportunity to play.
Steve, thanks for sharing that with your son because I see that happen a lot where players will go to tryouts and they don't really stand out, but they don't really do anything totally disastrous. They're just kind
Right.
of playing it safe. They're kind of just like blending in with everyone, but there's not that wow factor. And I
Mm-hmm.
think at tryouts you do have to have that wow factor, especially with an already established team when there might be maybe just 1 to 2 spots open and you don't know if that's a starting spot or if you're going to be the 18th on the roster. So you
Mm-hmm.
really have to go in there and stand out. It can't just be like, well, I made good passes today. Well, everyone can freaking do that, right?
Right.
Everyone at that
Right.
level can connect passes. So what are you doing to really wow the coach? And some coaches, when you are that player, they do have to make that tough decision. And when I was a freshman in high school, there were 3 of us freshmen at tryouts who were scoring all of the goals. Like we were going in as like starters. And the coach had to cut 3 seniors that had been on the team for all those
Mm-hmm.
years. And that's a scenario where it's like, wow, the people coming in really impressed us. We have to let go players that have been there forever. And it was this whole thing, and the seniors walked by us in the hallway, and we were freshmen, and they hated us. Like, it was crazy. But it's one of those things where it's like, well, sorry. Like, at the end of the day, the three freshmen were better than the seniors that had been there.
Yeah, and again, it's a very real story, right? It prompted me to think of this statement slash question for you guys. Well, so I think the answer has to be the same, whether your goals are to play in college or not. Like, there's a ton of kids now that are playing club. I did my own poll in one of my groups, and I was shocked that the top 2 answers as to why their kids were playing club soccer were to be with their friends and to have fun. And I was kind of scratching my head because I'm like, that's rec soccer, kind of. Like, you still want to be with friends and make friends and have fun, but like way down the list, like development, better coaching, higher competition. But so anyway, let me start over. I apologize for that little tangent. Whether you want to play in school after high school, you want to play in college, or you don't. Here's the question: would you rather be one of the starting 11 and get tons of playing time, Or would you rather be 13, 14, 15, 16, or higher and never see the field in a game? Really, the only time you get to touch a soccer ball is in training sessions, and we know how that goes. You have a big tournament going up, and you have we're going to have walkthroughs, and we're going to go over set plays and corner kicks. Where if we have a free kick at 35 yards out, how do we want to set up? How do we want to defend it? The starters are in on those. So, how much do you want to play the game as well? Like, is it worth being on the upper level team when you kind of know, like, me cracking in the top 11? I don't know. I mean, if you feel like, yeah, I belong there, I can fight for a starting role, then absolutely go for it. I'm really not detracting from that. I'm not trying to talk you out of playing at a high level. I'm trying to talk you into being realistic and knowing what the landscape literally looks like in soccer in the US today for kids. I know for me, I'd rather play.
Yeah. And when kids are playing, they're having fun. It's not fun just sitting there and seeing everyone else out there having fun playing. So, I
Right,
think the reason
right.
kids stay in sport is because they're playing, they're growing in that sport, they're learning new skills, and the only way to do that is to see the field. So, I think that's a really good question for everyone to ask because I get a lot of questions from parents around this time of year during tryout season. Who do we try out for? Is ECNL worth it? GA, ECNLR, DPL? I mean, there's so many acronyms. And a year ago, Dave, I'm sure you watched this video, it went viral when I basically said, like, none of these acronyms matter. And everyone freaked out and they're like, no, ECNL is the best, like for exposure, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I never said it wasn't, but I'm just saying you have to put the acronym aside and look at things that you really want out of this. Is it good coaching? Is it playing time? Do you want to be on a team with good chemistry and good culture? Maybe on that top team, the girls don't get along and there's cliques. I mean, you have to think about things beyond the acronym. Are you going to get playing time is another one. So, yeah, I think
Yeah.
a lot of people get riled up about, I'm team ECNO, I'm team GA, this one's the best. And it's like, no, you have to figure out what's best for you and what you want out of this in the end.
Yeah, there's all these like big, press releases like, "Oh, we got our 3 top boys teams into the ECNL national, league." And this just happened in a local club. There was a club changed hands or morphed or like it's a new name, whatever it is. And now there's this huge announcement on social media about they are, I think it's ECNL on the boys side. And they listed like it was this whole blurb about ECNL and how awesome it is. And I was talking to a mom who's unrelated to this club or anything. We just talk shop all the time about because her daughter plays club soccer. And I was like, we could take any other league and use the same blurb and description as to why it's so awesome for any other league, right? Now, I know people will argue this point, and there is some truth in it. GA and ECNL National, if you are that good, you're probably going to get more exposure playing in those leagues and national tournaments to like top 25 schools in the country than other clubs. That yes, that's real. But can we also please be honest? Most of our kids, 99.99% of our kids are not playing in the top 25%, like the top 25 best D1 schools in the country. They're not good enough. That's just the hard truth, tough love reality. Like I had those visions, when my kids were like 12, I'm like, maybe, I don't know. But as time goes on and I watch them develop and I watch their ability, like they're not that kid and it's okay. It's okay. It
Yeah.
really is. So choosing the acronym or the league because it looks good or it might get me more looks. Like again, if you're that good, you're getting those. And I train both those types of kids. So do you, Erica. I have a girl that just as a junior, she's committed. They committed to her top level school. She's one in the state that I know of right now. It's literally I don't remember the numbers, but it's something like there's like 250 spots a year
Mhm.
combining both male and female, men's and women's soccer, top 25 programs. 250 spots total coming out of high school. You know how many high school seniors there are trying to play college soccer? It's something like 250,000.
Yeah.
The
And
numbers
there
are insane. We have to be realistic.
and Dave, all those players are going up against the transfer portal and then the internationals. And if there's only a couple
And
hundred,
smaller rosters.
yep,
Yep.
smaller rosters, and if there's only a couple hundred of those spots at a top 25 D1, it's like, guys, look at the numbers. But look, I think you're right, Dave, that if you do want to play at that type of level, then yes, you probably should be on the top team because those showcase events are massive. There's hundreds of coaches sitting on the sidelines from these top schools, ACC, Big 10, Power 5. So, yes, but we're also saying that it's not the only way. So, if you want to
Mhm.
do D1 that's in the top 50 and above, so like the lower level D1s, then you might be able to do another league. Or if you want to do D2, D3, or JUCO, you'd be fine doing regional or other leagues. That's
Mhm.
totally okay. It's just, we're just saying know what your end goal is in all of this and what actually know what your daughter wants to get out of this. I think that's the key question, not the parent.
Right.
Ask your daughter what does she want to get out of this. That will be the best place to start.
100%. Because it is about them
Yeah.
and what they want. And I just want so so much for kids to enjoy the game. I see so many hung heads in like the drama and
Mhm.
politics and the coach, my club, the like this game is awesome. Like just go play and have so much fun. You'll probably play better. And then, if it's really something you want to do in terms of playing past high school, we started this conversation with this in a way. You better start doing all the little things. It's not just about being on that team and um, going to those tournaments. Because even those players, we should put this in context, right? Those are the players that are doing all the little things that no one else wants to do in terms of their mental health, their nutrition, their hydration. I just talked to an ex athlete of mine that played, he was a two sport athlete at Michigan, played soccer, and then he got a fifth year because he was a grad student and he had a year off because of COVID and he ran track. Like that's as high of a level as you can get. Like you're going to Michigan. And this kid, when I tell you the nights that even my son, he was best friends with my son, he was like, Christian doesn't want to go out. He said he wants to go to bed early as a tournament the next day, like on Friday nights when they were, juniors and seniors. Or I'm going over Christian's house. He's been learning how to cook healthy.
Mhm.
This is in high school. Like those are the things. Was he an amazing soccer player? Obviously. Like that's a given. You have to have ability if you're going to play at that level. But even at that, like Erica said, transfer portal, shorter, smaller roster sizes, so they're recruiting less out of high school. International players. You got to do all the little things. So if you're not that kid, enjoy the game as much as humanly possible and see how high you can go and have fun doing it. That's it. There's no pressure. If you don't make a team, I know it stinks. That happened to me. And what did I do? I was like, I'm gonna work harder because there's no way I'm not making this team next year. It was the worst and best day of my life because it built my character. Like, what am I gonna do? I literally remember riding my bike to my high school with a soccer ball in my bag. I was crying because I didn't make it. And then, the next year I was lucky enough to make it. But like, just keep playing the game and having fun. Take the pressure off of yourself for this, like, you have to have this unbelievable performance every time you step on the field because it's holding you back in many, many ways. So enjoy the game, do all the little things you can to prepare and to give yourself that confidence that when you go into tryouts, you're giving it the best that you can and you can walk off that field smiling, and then it's not up to you after that. It's up to the coaching staff and the evaluators, and whether you agree with the decision or not, you move on because guess what? You still get to play the next day.
Yeah, it's super interesting observing some of those like really top players that do go on to play at these programs. I think they have just a combination of a couple things. It's those small habits and being disciplined in nutrition, recovery, and training and sharpening their touch, but they also have just a natural talent as well. And I think some
Mhm,
people need to be real with themselves with that. Like, do I have good genetics? Do I not? And then they also have just that passion, and it's usually not forced on these types of kids from the parents. They just love it themselves. And I
mhm,
just had a girl remotely who committed to play soccer at USC, and they're in the top 25. And she's also on the US youth national team, earned a starting spot in their tournament a few weeks ago. And she's just the type of player that she just takes initiative. She owns her development. She's so locked in with getting her electrolytes every day. Like, not a lot of kids think about electrolytes. And
mhm.
she will send me pictures of doing her recovery and Normatec and foam rolling. And I'm like, wow, this girl, she's locked in. But you can
She's
just
got
tell
it.
she loves doing it. Like, she just loves the discipline of just being
Mhm.
better. And it's just inspiring me as a coach because I'm like, wow, I mean, this is something anyone can learn. I don't care if you're going to play top 25 D1 or not. You need these habits for life,
Mhm.
even when sports end. So I just thought it was just so cool to see.
I'm glad you brought that up because of a couple reasons. One is you're right, you can't teach that passion. And
Mm.
parents, you can't force your own passion for the game on your kids. They have it, in my opinion, or they don't. Like, success breeds success, and when you're successful, they'll like it more and maybe even start to love it. But that passion where they literally don't wanna be anywhere else in the world but on a soccer field. That's where they live. They feel like they can breathe. That's their safe place. That's the most fun that they can have. I've seen those players play live too, um, and it's different. Everything about them is different when you see them on the field. It's indescribable. But, you parents, you can't it's not about you. It's about what your kids want, and, yeah, sometimes when they're younger, they don't know what they want yet, but, it's not about your passion for the game, it's what they really love. Because ultimately, if it's not there, it's like trying to put a square peg in a round hole. You're just trying and trying, and that's where it does become a grind and it feels like a job and it's not fun anymore, and you get to hear like, "Do I have to go to practice?" And we don't want that for kids.
I think the last thing I want to quickly touch on is just coming back to this whole conversation around, well, it's politics. It's politics that my kid didn't make it, the coach, the coach, the coach. But I would say that is very rare. Does it
Mhm.
happen? Yes, and I've seen it happen, but I think the majority of the time, coaches are picking the best players because coaches do have to win, especially on
Mhm.
these top teams. So you stay in the ECNL and you keep going to the showcases. So at the end of the day, coaches do have to win at the higher ages and
Mhm.
higher levels. So they're not going to pick players that they think won't help that. And also, a coach's
Right.
job is on the line. You have a losing team, you can lose your job tomorrow and the whole staff gets fired. That's just how the system is now. So I think when people say, well, it's politics, it's like we're forgetting that coaches they do want to have the best players on their team. So rare cases it can be political, but majority of time I would say no.
I agree with that 100%, and they're also human beings. They don't always get it right,
Yes.
you know? Yeah, there are instances where, you've consulted enough families as have I, because like, should we go to a different club? And, those are long conversations. I usually have way more questions than answers when those types of things come up. It's so rare. It, and we had talked about this in a previous episode, Erica. Look at yourself first. Did I stand out? Am I standing out? What is my attitude like? Am I doing all the little things to make myself better? Um, but yeah, they're human beings. They get it right, they get it wrong, but they're trying. There is no one coaching that has it out for kids, especially your kid or just you, and they hate you and they don't want to see you succeed, and they're just being mean to you on purpose or not playing you on purpose. Are some coaches better communicators than others? Yes. Are coaches well intentioned, but sometimes they send messages to kids that are not positive by accident? Yes. Like, again, they're human, and most coaches that I know are trying to get better, are still learning ways to communicate better, to send better messaging, to develop a better culture, to help kids develop even if they're not in starting 11, right? How do I help the kids that are, if it's a large roster, I know some clubs are taking 21 and sitting 3 every single game, like not dressing. Would you want to be that, right? Not knowing if you're even dressing for the game, let alone being on the bench. Like, coaches are trying to do the right thing. They're not perfect. It's not a perfect system by any means, which is a whole nother conversation. But do everything you can do to become better and earn that starting role or earn that spot on the team, whatever your individual goal is. And sometimes it works out. Most times I feel like it does if you do everything you can. Sometimes it doesn't. And that's just the reality. But either way, just know that. Like, just do everything you can and relax. For me, Erica, it always comes back to I don't want you guys to be so stressed out all the time. Soccer is so awesome. Like, again, just go have fun and play the game to the best of your ability and be proud of yourself for doing that, no matter what anyone says.
I love that, Dave. I think that's such a great place to end on. And guys, please leave a comment, like the video if you enjoyed the episode. If you have any other questions, I'm going to leave Dave's links in the caption below. So feel free to follow up with him. Dave is a regular guest on the podcast. So you are super familiar with him, and he always gives such great advice because he has been in coaching for many years. He has young athletes of his own, so he has been through the ringer with all this. So he gets it. Dave, thank you again, and I will see everyone next time.